a vocational binder that's available at ABA Speech. It is something that I use for students who are in middle school, high school. Oftentimes when I'm working with students at that age group, I have shared goals with the special education teacher. And so I am supporting vocation. If the student is practicing a vocational task, I am supporting communication in that way. Or if a student is just learning about terms that have to do with vocation, job sampling, different things that they may encounter in different job settings. And so I created this binder over the course of a year when I was working with middle school and high school students who had those types of goals. So here are the different units. They're about a variety of different job environments. So we start with finding a job, application, interview, how do we get ready for work, all those things that we're working on with students. And then it goes into the different areas they potentially could work. So a clothing store, a grocery store, office, childcare, nursing home, restaurant, housekeeping, library, and landscape. And so if your students are potentially going out to those settings, or they're at their stage where they're just learning about those settings, this is nice because this binder has comprehension passages, it has questions about them, social skills questions, and then extension activities so that you could practice. You could practice these extension activities in the school environment or also in the home environment. So it's a win-win for everybody on the team. Let me show you what one of these units looks like and what's included in each unit. So this is the unit about working at a clothing store. You will be able to share with your students a passage where if your student is able to read, they can read this on their own, or you can take turns reading it. I've done that where I've highlighted different sections and had the student read some of it and I read some of it as well. If your student's a non-reader, you can read that to them. We have different real life pictures of things that they may encounter in those different environments so that we can work on labeling. We can work on verbally labeling if your student is a verbal communicator. If your student is able to write, you could have them write. If your student is using this for distance education, they could type right in there into that box. So we have these real life pictures to talk about the different environment. And then we have fill in the blank statements. So if your student has trouble with comprehension, sometimes it's nice to start working on fill in the blanks. So you could read this and the student could fill in the blank from different parts of the passage. If your student is a reader, they could go back and reference the text and type in the answers here. We also have comprehension questions. So if your student is working on comprehension questions and answering more complex questions about written passages, this is a nice way to do that as well. And then social questions. Social questions are nice if you're doing a one-on-one session, but they also lend themselves to small group instruction. So this is where that communication piece comes in. And also we're talking with our student because if they're vocation and they're sampling different areas of vocation or just starting to talk about those things, this is nice because we can see, does the student ever go shopping? What are their favorite stores? Do they just shop online? And we get an idea of what is their experience so far with this type of environment. Then every single section is going to have an extension activity. So this extension activity is to have students practice hanging a variety of clothing items. Hanging a shirt versus hanging pants is going to be very different. You may hang them a certain way in a clothing store. You may hang them with certain hangers. And so it's nice to have students practicing this in real life. And this generalizes itself to a home skill because we all want our students to be able to, and our own children, to be able to hang their own clothes up, right? This helps everybody in the home, and it's gonna help our student become more independent. If they have a folding board, that's something that I've done with an OT before, the folding board that they often have at retail stores. I have some students that are very good and can fold shirts without the folding board, but that once again is a really nice life skill and generalizes to the home if that's where they're practicing this as far as there's laundry and we can fold it and we're putting it away, we're hanging things on hangers. Those are good life skills in the home environment that you can practice, but they also lend themselves to generalizing to a job setting as well. So if you're working with students in middle school and high school and you want to support their vocational experiences, this is a really great activity to do that with.